Well, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Sharon Bonney. I'm the CEO for the Coalition on Adult Basic Education, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Demystifying Registered Apprenticeships. And today's webinar is brought to you by our sponsor, Erne. So I want to introduce you to Anya Enright. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give her the opportunity to share her screen, and we're going to go from there. So thank you, Anya.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I am going to say a couple of words about how excited I am to be a part of this discussion during this very special week when we acknowledge and celebrate successes and the values of the registered apprenticeship across the country. As we know, many leaders in the industry, government, education, and the workforce, they host similar events across the country to acknowledge all that. And here at Engine, we're definitely inspired and motivated by all the opportunities that registered apprenticeship can offer. But also on a daily basis, we face a big challenge, very familiar to yourselves as well, the challenge and barrier of the speaking the English language. And this is where we come as a company, as the platform. We are bridging the gap between your traditional ESL program and career pathway programs. As you might know, Engine is an adaptive web and mobile-based platform. All our learning is built with the idea of task-based learning. All the content we use on the platform is authentic. And we create truly content daily. We create the content that can help your learners to prepare for different career pathways, workforce trainings, and of course, apprenticeship. We created so many different courses, including healthcare, for instance, and that includes CNA, farm tech, and other courses that can be used with the out-of-the-box mentality. And that's what I see in my experience working with the programs on a national level, how they incorporate our courses into their curriculum. With the healthcare courses, we also created manufacturing, OSHA safety, CDL, and other courses that can support your English language learners for success with apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs. So one of the examples that I want to bring up here is the program that we have worked in Lake Tahoe. They're called Advance. This is the adult education program. What they saw is a big demand with ski lift operation opportunity. And they approached us, and this collaboration was very successful. We created a course for them. And like I said, we saw a lot of successes with them. These are just some of the examples of the courses we have on our list. And if you would love to explore more, I would encourage to schedule a demo with Ted. And I am going to put his email address in the chat right here. Probably I should send the email later. For whatever reason, I can't open the chat. All right, so I would like to say thank you to our wonderful presenter, Janene, who's a true leader in the industry. Thank you, Janene, for sharing your expertise and knowledge on this subject. And thank you to COABE and you, Sharon, for hosting such an important session today, and truly the opportunity to say a couple of words on the subject.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Anya.
Thank you.
Yes, and I just want to say this webinar is free to our members, thanks to Engen's sponsorship. So thank you again for that partnership. And now I'm going to introduce Janene Kelley Erne. She is a Regional Apprenticeship Administrator at the Workforce Intelligence Network, WIN, and a U.S. Department of Labor Apprenticeship Ambassador. In this role, she works with partners from across apprenticeship systems to grow opportunities in Southeast Michigan. She has over 20 years of experience in career development and apprenticeship and is passionate about connecting industries and individuals for these opportunities. So without further ado, I'll stop sharing my screen and turn this over to Janene. Thank you.
There we go. Good morning. Oh, it's afternoon now. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I apologize here. What's going on? Technology, ain't it grand?
So just right at the top, they're going to want to go on the left-hand side to that first slide. Yeah, from the beginning. There you
What
go.
I thought, but it keeps taking me
There you go.
somewhere. Okay,
That's perfect.
that's not my PowerPoint though.
So we're looking at your PowerPoint.
You're seeing it. I'm just not seeing it the way I need to see it. I apologize. It worked perfect in the practice.
That's
All right, let's see if we can do this. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janene Erne. As Sharon said, I'm the Regional Apprenticeship Administrator for our organization, which is called the Workforce Intelligence Network, affectionately known as WIN. And we're a unique nonprofit in Southeast Michigan. And basically, our mission is to help our employers in the region grow and keep the talent they need so we maintain a robust economy in Michigan. And for those of you who might not be aware, the majority of our population in Michigan is in our region, the thumb and the palm of the hand. So that's our mission, and we're uniquely poised because our board is made up of the community colleges that are in the region, as well as our workforce development agencies. And we kind of act as the conduit to bring those two entities together. So now it went backwards. There we go. What I'm going to start with are some very common myths that everyone has about registered apprenticeship. And just kind of debunk things that people assume. So myth number one, registered apprenticeship and internship are the same thing. They are not. They are not at all. The only commonality between them is they're both work-based learning opportunities. A registered apprenticeship, we like to say, an internship is try before you buy, and a registered apprenticeship is train to retain. An internship does not necessarily have to end in employment. A registered apprenticeship begins with full-time employment. Myth number two, and what often stops some employers from even inquiring about it, is that it costs too much. There is really no cost to doing a registered apprenticeship. The Department of Labor doesn't charge for their services. I and my agency is grant funded, so we don't charge for our services. And the only real cost is the employment cost for the apprentice. And the reality is that nationally, there is about $1.50 return for every dollar that the employer invests in training that apprentice. Sometimes people talk about youngsters getting, because registered apprenticeship can start at the age of 16. Out in industry, especially in manufacturing and building trades, the traditional trades, 18 is the norm, but there are still quite a bit that a youngster can do to learn on the job. And myth number four, Oh, when you create, when I go to an employer and create a registered apprenticeship program, you create one registered apprenticeship program and then you add as many trades underneath it. So the paperwork, there is one piece of paperwork to start, and then you can add, I always usually recommend one trade at a time, but you can have as many trades as that employer wishes to add, and it's not difficult. There's not a lot of paperwork to do that. College is a better choice than registered apprenticeship. I think I'm probably speaking maybe to the choir, but there's a video at the end of my presentation that will address this. One of the nicer things about registered apprenticeship is you don't incur that tremendous college cost for college debt, and you develop a very specific, very marketable skill. Very, very common myth is that apprenticeship is only for union affiliated companies. Absolutely not true. The reality is that nationally, there are more non-union employers that have registered apprenticeship program. However, nationally, there are probably more union apprentices, only because union companies, the UAW, for example, tend to put on hundreds, tens, hundreds of apprentices, where the non-union companies tend to have one or two, maybe five. Registered apprenticeships are an old, antiquated way of thinking. Certainly this week, as we celebrate National Apprenticeship Week, we are celebrating the 85th year of registered apprenticeship. And they're anything but antiquated. Registered apprenticeships require state-of-the-art training, both on the job and in the classroom. And probably my most favorite myth to debunk is that people who have failed or struggled in high school and just couldn't do it are a good choice for registered apprenticeship. And the reality is, in order to be an apprentice, you have to be smart, dedicated, and hardworking. An apprenticeship program is a very, very rigorous training program. It involves full-time work and part-time school. And if you have got time to put a little bit of life in there and still manage everything, you have to be motivated. Do you have to be a straight A student or an engineer? Absolutely not. But it's the motivation that is key for a registered apprenticeship. Went backwards. What's going on here? Okay. So let's get a little bit into the nitty gritty. This is a bit of a esoteric definition of what is apprenticeship. It is certainly a proven model, 85 years of proof, for rapid right skills development and talent retention through demonstrated employer commitment to workers. That really is what it is. But what is it really? As I said, it's been around for 85 years. And even before it was registered and became formalized with the Fitzgerald Act 85 years ago, I believe that's 1937. But it's been around forever. Our country was built by the experts, by a mentor who knew what they were doing, bringing a young person in to teach them that trade. Many youngsters were indentured, not apprenticed, but they went to live with the master tradesperson so they could learn a trade and become a fulfilled and productive adult and take care of their families. So this is just a short video. Bear with me. As soon as it's done, it will make sense, and I am in a different view that I can't make it play. my sincere. Well, let me tell you about this video because it shows a 1950s NASCAR, whatever the race car is, and it shows a pit stop. And this race car comes in, and there are 4 or 5 mechanics coming in. They change the tires, and it takes 6 minutes for a pit stop. And no, I apologize. It takes 1 minute and 45 seconds for the pit stop. And then it flash forwards to a 2013 race in Australia, and the car comes into the pit stop. In the pit stop, there's now suddenly 20 pit stop workers. They all have an exact task to do. The car pulls in, the pit stop guys all do their task, and it goes from 1 minute 48 in 1950 to 4 seconds for a pit stop. And I use that video in almost all of my presentations, and feel free to, it's a YouTube, just Google or YouTube a pit stop 1950 and this will pop up. And it's such a good demonstration of, yes, apprenticeship has been around for 85 years, but oh my gosh, has it changed? Has it grown? Has it expanded? And as I said, I've been doing this for almost 30 years now. And to see where we've come with the new trades that are being embraced, the new types of apprenticeship with competency-based and hybrids, and the delivery methods. The Department of Labor, in my opinion, has really excelled, especially in the last 10 years, and has really created a modern day practical apprenticeship program. Don't do this to me. Okay, so registered apprenticeship is available in every state. It operates differently, and there are half the states operate under the DOL directly. The other half have a state apprenticeship committee that manages their program. It's kind of a 50-50, but they all states do registered apprenticeship, and it results in a nationally recognized credential. And of course, registered apprenticeship touts sustainability. It reduces turnover, fosters loyalty among employers. Pretty much the employer is guaranteed that apprentice is going to stay with them at a minimum for at least the term of their apprenticeship, because they want to finish it. And for the most part, they stay after. There is an increased loyalty in apprentices when they complete their program. They have a more likely to stay than move on. It's incredibly flexible. It is completely business driven. The employer is the one who creates their training plan, which is basically what an apprenticeship is, an internal training plan that's certified and has quality control measures built in. So it's a tremendously flexible, business-driven option for workforce development. And right now, it has never been more fundable than it has been in my past experience. And I don't see that funding going away anytime soon. We've been getting federal apprenticeship grants for the past 10 years, and we just got another apprenticeship grant that will go for another 4 years from today. So funding is there, and there's funding for employers. There is funding for barrier removal for the apprentices. It's the first time I've ever seen this level of commitment from all levels of government, from federal, state, and local, that are supporting registered apprenticeship. What? What is going on here?
Janene, we can see your slides.
Yes, but I'm in a loop. It's going backwards. There we go.
Perfect.
Perfectly. I apologize sincerely. So what are the benefits of registered apprenticeship? There are so many, but these are the key ones. For the employer, especially in today's economy, when skilled workers are at a premium, they don't really have much option except to grow their own and get the younger person in there so they can pass on that institutional knowledge before that institutional knowledge disappears. And I mentioned it reduces turnover. There's that liability. You're not just putting someone on the shop floor. They have a mentor attached to them. So you know they're going to be watched and mentored closely, which obviously leads to less liability. And you're not just creating a tool maker or a medical assistant or an IT specialist. You're creating your company's version of that trade. And of course, for the apprentice, the biggest thing is the learn while you earn with little or no debt. You will be developing a specific industry recognized skills. The credential that you get when you complete a registered apprenticeship is portable across North America. And I've seen it time and time again that apprentices turn into craftsmen and journey workers who then turn into managers. So there is a definite career path. So apprenticeship is a customizable living document. When I say living, I mean that in 6 months, a year, once an employer creates an apprenticeship program, it is not set in stone. The employer has an opportunity to try it on for size, and they may realize as they're training the apprentice, they missed something, or they gave more weight to one area than another. So it's very easy to upgrade it, change it for the life of the apprenticeship. The other option with registered apprenticeship is, should the employer decide it's not for me, it's very simple to just say, I'm no longer interested, and your program is just canceled. There's no liability. There is no, you don't get a ticket or anything. If something comes up in the employer's program and the Department of Labor questions it, all they do is cancel a program. And they only cancel programs if it's an unsafe work environment, and that's what everybody wants. I've never seen that happen in my experience. So the key elements to a registered apprenticeship, it's called an Appendix A. When you sit down and start doing the paperwork, there are a set of standards that you develop with your employer, and the standards are your SOP or an agreement with the Department of Labor that basically says you're going to operate a safe, equitable, and fair program. And then your appendixes that go inside your standards dictate how your program is going to be run. So Appendix A, there's A, B, C, D. but I'm just going to talk about Appendix A. That's the meat and potatoes, or the core. That's where the training plan is housed. That's where the employer will develop their on-the-job learning component. It's called a work process schedule. They will agree to mentorship. So it's not just putting someone on the shop floor, or I keep going back to the traditional trades, the shop floor, the hospital ward, wherever. They do have to be very closely monitored by a mentor. And that for every apprentice an employer puts on the job, they must have an equal amount of mentors. And the mentorship relationship is very close at the beginning. And as the apprentice gets more skillful, that mentorship goes farther apart, and the mentor can then return to their regular duties. The third part of the apprentice of Appendix A is the classroom training, the related technical instruction. And because you are educators, you're familiar with the term credit hour. The Department of Labor doesn't use that term credit hour. What they're looking for when you're setting up a registered apprenticeship program is contact hours. How many hours that apprentice's butt is in a seat learning in a classroom or in front of a laptop or in a lab. So for every year that they have of on-the-job learning, 2,000 hours is 1 year, they have to have 144 contact hours of related technical instruction that is very specific to their job. They are not going to be taking social science classes or philosophy. They're going to be taking classes that are relevant to their work. The third thing that's in, fourth thing is a progressive wage scale. The apprentice must start at an entry-level wage, and as their skills develop and they're worth more to the company, the Department of Labor requires that the apprentice's wage goes up commensurate with their level of skill. The bottom line is they have to have at least one wage increase over the course of their apprenticeship. And these are details we work out individually with the employer. I don't tell them you have to pay them $10 to start and end at 20. The employer is the one who makes that determination, other than minimum wage issues. So it is, once we put that Appendix A together, sign a few more documents, it's sent off to the Department of Labor and officially registered. And that formalizes their apprenticeship program, which ensures the quality of the program and ensures the apprentice is going to get the benefits of the apprenticeship, and it legitimizes the training program for the employer. So the key partners for registered apprenticeship are the employer or the sponsor. The DOL calls them the sponsor of apprenticeship. You cannot do an apprenticeship without an employer. So my first piece of advice is, if you're looking to get your students into a registered apprenticeship, is connect with that employer, because you can't do it without them. The other partner is the Department of Labor. Kind of goes without saying, you can't register a program without their registration, their certification. The RTI providers, those can be coming from multiple sources. They can be adult ed, they can be community college, they can be some proprietary organization that does training specifically for an industry, or any combination of the two. And certainly a key partner today, especially, is your workforce development agencies. That's where the money is, and that's where the talent is. Okay, so this gets a little bit more into the details, but I'm not going to belabor this. The key elements are what I talked about, the work process schedule. That's the on-the-job learning. We start that work process schedule with an example from the Department of Labor. And they're easily accessible on apprenticeship.gov. And we start with that, and they identify a trade. We show them this is an example of how one company did it, but it's your program to adjust the work process as you see fit, as long as you stay within the DOL's parameters of 2,000 hours of OJT and 144 of education per year. I talked about the RTI can be any combination of any of those. This is an example of a wage scale that I talked about. This is an actual example from one of the companies that is in our intermediary, and it's for a commercial electrician. So you can see for the first half a year, they're going to be making $14 an hour. And as they progress through 4 years, they're going to end up making $35 an hour. So this is a video that unfortunately will not play, but I would encourage you all to watch it, especially for educators. And it's kind of an oldie but a goodie, so some of you may be familiar with it. It's called College for All, and it discusses very succinctly why the college for all mentality is just not the right thing to do, how the majority, more than half of the jobs that are out there currently do not require a 4-year traditional college or university diploma to get the job. So it's a very well done video, and I apologize, I must have clicked the wrong button. And as a baby boomer, it's not my forte. So this is one of my favorite slides that I do, especially with when I'm talking to high school students. And these numbers are not at all accurate. I used round, easy numbers just to demonstrate the value of a registered apprenticeship for a person considering it. So what I've outlined here is the average college cost of a university degree, and we all know that that's that's much smaller than it should be. But for ease, I just said, if you go the college career path, you're going to be paying about $10,000 plus per year. At the end of that college career, you're going to have a wonderful degree, and depending on your university, hopefully they have a jobs and career office. But the reality is you're going to have to go out and find a job. If you choose an apprenticeship route for a career, your first year, you might start out making $10,000 a year because you're an employee, you're paid to learn. And because of the wage scale requirement, every year you're in an apprenticeship, your wage is going to go up incrementally. So if you're in an apprenticeship program, you're making money every year. You have no college debt. And the reality is, when you finish your registered program, the potential for your wage is easily $75,000 up because you're a skilled worker at this point. And when someone comes out of college, they're often a very educated, very knowledgeable, but not necessarily a skilled worker, and will still need to find that employer who will give them the work skills they need that match their education. So this is what an apprentice gets when they complete a registered apprenticeship. The Department of Labor calls it a certificate of completion. It looks like as good as any college degree I've ever seen. And I don't want to sound like I'm anti-college degreed. I am college degreed. My children are college degreed. They're also apprentices or journey workers. But this certificate we call the other four-year degree. It is portable across the United States, recognized in every state. It is the same credential that a union journeyman gets. The term journey worker has been adopted kind of like Kleenex and tissue. The Department of Labor has adopted the term journey worker, but a true journey worker receives a journey worker's card from their union. So they also, though, they cannot get that journey worker card unless they get this certificate as well. Going backwards. Oh my goodness sakes. Let's try this. Oh, finally. So this is why apprenticeship. Right now in Michigan, we're looking at 800,000 job openings, good paying careers in many industries, specifically automation, healthcare, info technology. And of course, right now, EV in Michigan is, it's bigger than huge. And we need the people to do the EV infrastructure, the EV manufacturing, the EV repair work. So there are jobs waiting to be filled, and they're not, especially in EV, we're not requiring that 4-year. We don't have time to wait for that. We need them to hit the ground running. So nationally, everyone knows the college debt issue. Basically, 1 in 4 people have an average student debt of almost $40,000, which equates to about a $400 a month payment. That's my car payment. And it's just something that we have to start thinking about and get away from that college for all mentality. It's great, but there are so many jobs out there right now that are good paying jobs that can happen through registered apprenticeship. So because the organization was in Florida, I thought everybody was in Florida. So I put this slide in for who to contact in Florida, but you can go to apprenticeship.gov at the bottom. You see that /contact us, and you can find your state person to work with. These are just some general websites that I like to use when I'm talking especially to students. Apprenticeship.gov is huge and they're revamping it, but you can pretty much find out everything you need to know about registered apprenticeship. It's a great tool. It's much better than it ever was. Like I said, the DOL has really stepped up their game, and my understanding is that they're going to refine the website even more. miapprenticeship.org is our Michigan apprenticeship website. If you wanted to reach out to me directly, there's a contact form in there. You can do that. Mustcareers.org is for the traditional building trades. I like to refer students there if they're looking to be a carpenter, an electrician, a pipe fitter, plumber, to really get a sense. They've got a brochure online there that describes the work of the apprentice of that trade, so that the apprentice can figure out what exactly the work is. And hey, I didn't realize I'd have to be climbing a 40-foot pole. I'm afraid of heights. So it's important that your students understand their limitations. And I'll segue here. I often get students, or even out of school people, contacting me through our website saying, I want to get into an apprenticeship program. And my first comment is, that's great. There are 1,400 of them. Which one do you want to do? So I refer them to websites like this so that they can help refine their desire. And Apprenticcareers.org is for IT. Anyone interested in an IT specific apprenticeship, it's a great website, and you can actually, someone can apply to get into their apprenticeships on that website. There are hundreds of resources out there, and these are just very few. And that's it. And I apologize sincerely for my lack of technology. But right now, there is one question in the Q&A. All right. NYSED has asked the NYC adult literacy providers to contact NYC Department of Labor's ARTs. I believe the title is Apprenticeship Trade Representative. Yep. Once we find an employer who is interested, is there anyone out there who can help us with this? You can go to apprenticeship.gov and find out who your ATR is at that link. Once you find an employer who is interested, that is the first step, is connecting them with the Department of Labor. I don't know if New York is a SAC state or a DOL state, but on apprenticeship.gov, they do have every state listed with the initial contact person. So, are there any other questions? Just feel free to unmute. And if not, I guess I'm giving you back. Oh, someone go ahead.
Thanks, Janene. We've really appreciated this session. I do want to comment here. First of all, we appreciated all the information. And second of all, I see a lot of great comments in the comment box, in the chat box. And I just want to mention, if you have specific questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A so we can answer them. There are just a lot of comments in the chat box, which is great. I see some great chats here.
Oh, I didn't look at the chat.
And while we are looking in the chat, I want to open it up to Anya to close us out here. Anya, would you like to say a few words on behalf of NGen?
Absolutely, and thank you for this opportunity, Sharon. Once again, Janene, it was very useful for myself as a professional who is involved into the industry and working on removing the barriers for the newcomers, refugees, immigrants, in particular with the language learning, because we all know how big of a barrier it is. And thank you very much to everybody for participating. I was looking at the chat, great discussion, and I'm going to post this in the chat Once again, if you would like to schedule a demo, please connect with Ted at ted@getengine.com. It will be useful to have the demo request in the subject line. And I hope we will reconnect soon. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the winter that is coming.
Great,
There
thank
was,
you. Yes, go ahead. I see a couple of questions.
yeah, great question in the chat. What can I say about pre-apprenticeship? Wow, I can say a lot. And I think especially in adult ed, pre-apprenticeship is going to play a key role. And the focus, one of the major focuses of the ABA grant, Apprenticeship Builds America, that was just released this summer, one of the key components is building out pre-apprenticeship apprentice readiness. Currently, traditionally, pre-apprenticeship has been at a higher level where you take 2 or 3 technical courses to get you up to speed in the technical area, and then you're ready for this employment piece. But what I've seen, and where I think especially adult ed is going to come in, is that pre-apprenticeship, where the literacy and foundational skills are considered pre-apprenticeship to prepare them to get into the actual apprentice readiness courses, because many people are not ready at that level. And that's where I can see this pre-apprenticeship really happening. In Michigan, we are creating an statewide recognized credential called the MARC, the Michigan Apprentice Readiness Certificate. So all of our Michigan pre-apprenticeship programs, if they meet the Michigan standards, will receive that credential. I highly recommend doing that. That will assure the quality of the pre-apprenticeship programs. And by having a credential, a state recognized credential, it also adds that funding piece to it. So that's so much is happening in pre-apprenticeship right now, and it's going to be more center focused than apprenticeship. So that's my pre-apprenticeship skill.
Thank you. Well, Janene, thank you again, and thank you to our sponsor, and thank you to all of you who took the time to join us. This session will be available afterwards. A certificate will go out within 24 hours as well, so to a certificate of participation. We have another session tomorrow that I encourage you to join us for. We'll be closing out National Apprenticeship Week through the Center of Excellence, the Department of Labor. We'll be closing out with a great session. So that's also from 2 to 3 tomorrow. We hope to see you there. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your
Bye.
time.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Sharon, thank you all.